Greetings from the beautiful state of Alaska. Bob the Bible Man here. Alaska is the home of the Aurora Borealis, also known as the Northern Lights. We actually have family up here. Our son and his wife said they were coming up here for just a year or so before they would come back down to Alabama and start a family. Well, that was 4 years and 3 grandkids ago, and they're still up here. But that's okay. We really do enjoy coming up here to visit them. We love seeing all the beautiful scenery that you'll find all over this great state. You really do need to come up here and see what it's like. It really is quite awesome. They say it's beautiful there in the winter, but it's way too cold for someone like me who was born in San Diego, California. You can actually see glaciers any time of the year. In fact, you look down as you're flying into Anchorage, you'll see a whole bunch of glaciers everywhere. In fact, they say there are something like 100,000 glaciers throughout all of Alaska. But snow and ice might be pretty to look at. But if you ask me, the best time to visit Alaska is in the summer. It's absolutely wonderful. And you'll end up getting more daylight than you'll ever see in the lower 48. In June, there are 20 hours of daylight, and the other 4 are not really all that dark either. I love waterfalls, and you can find them just about anywhere up here. And there is lots of interesting wildlife as well. Some are more interesting and dangerous than others. You really shouldn't get this close to a bear. You also shouldn't stand this close to a moose. In fact, they say that a moose can be even more dangerous than a bear. So if you ever happen to encounter one or both of these extra large creatures, leave a comment below about how it all turned out. Before we get to our lesson, let me show you a map of the southern part of Alaska. You'll see down there at the bottom is Anchorage. That's where you'll find the main airport. You could drive to Alaska, but it would take you about a week to get here, partly because you can't really get here from the lower 48. Instead, you have to drive north all the way up into Canada, and then somewhere up there take a left, and then keep driving, and eventually, if you're lucky, you'll finally get to Alaska. And that's why most people, like we do, fly instead of drive. About 45 miles north of Anchorage is Wasilla. This is where our son and daughter-in-law and 3 of our grandkids live. And then about 70 more miles to the north is Talkeetna. Talkeetna is this small village. It's filled with arts and crafts and souvenirs, really a great place to go. And at the west end of this village, down this 1 block long main street, is where 3 rivers come together. Now you can see at the top of this picture a whole bunch of clouds, and behind those clouds, about 100 miles to the north of right there, is Denali, previously known as Mount McKinley, and apparently is once again. Denali/Mount McKinley is the highest mountain in North America. It is 20,310 feet. And apparently it's pretty common for that entire mountain range to be covered up by clouds. And this is pretty much all we've seen for the past 4 years. Everybody says it's there. Many have written about it and painted beautiful pictures of it in all its glory. But all we've ever seen is just clouds. It reminds me of a big magic trick I once saw on TV. David Copperfield, the magician, made the Statue of Liberty disappear. There was a live audience in a parking lot in a big enclosed structure, and a TV camera behind the people that had the same view that they had. At the front were these 2 large towers on either side, and in the middle you could see the Statue of Liberty in the distance. Then Copperfield raised a sheet up in front of the statue, and when he dropped it, it was gone. Sometime later, the secret to the trick was revealed. The statue obviously never moved. It was always there. But what the audience didn't know, nor did the people watching on TV, that when the giant sheet was raised, the entire platform on which everyone was standing and on which was the TV camera, it was all moved just enough that when the sheet came down, the statue was hidden behind that tower on the left. Now, he had loud music going on, other stuff to distract them and all that, so that nobody there on that platform could tell that it was actually slowly moving. And so when the sheet came down, the view in the distance looked pretty much the same as before, except for the Statue of Liberty appeared to be gone. It was a simple matter of changing their perspective. The thing is, even though they couldn't see it, it was still there. It didn't move. It was right where it had always been. It was just not visible from their point of view. And the same thing is true about God. He really is always there, even though you might not be able to see him. There's actually numerous places in the Bible that say we can't really see God. Moses told God back in Exodus that he wanted to see his face, but God said, "You cannot see my face, for no man can see me and live." Paul told Timothy, "He who is the blessed and only sovereign, the King of kings and Lord of lords, who alone has immortality," he said, "he dwells in unapproachable light, whom no man has ever seen or can see." And John said, "No one has beheld God at any time." But know this, even if you're not able to see God in a literal sense, you need to know and remember that he is always there. Even if you've never seen him physically, surely you've seen him work in your life. He's been there. He always has been, and he always will be on your side. God told Joshua, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." I think sometimes we miss out on all the beauty of life that surrounds us because we forget about God, and then we're all consumed and worried about things that might happen in our lives. And that takes away from enjoying everything else. There's a movie called About Time. It's about how the men in that family could travel in time. Well, as you might imagine, there were several sub-stories throughout. Over and over, the main character would mess up, so he'd go back in time and try again. Be nice if we could do that, I guess. But anyway, near the end of the movie, he does a voiceover saying that he doesn't do much time traveling anymore, except that sometimes he will go back and relive an ordinary day. But that second time, he will just enjoy all the various moments throughout the day, not having to fill the day with worry over what might happen because he already knows how that day will end. He knows everything will turn out just fine. And so he doesn't spend the day worrying, but instead enjoying. Even though we might like to, you and I can't relive days, but we can choose to set our worries aside. And no matter what happens that day, we can trust that God is always there watching over us, always caring for us. And I'll tell you something else about this. The truth is, God really does want us to see him. Again, maybe not physically, but in every other way. He wants us to know without a doubt that he's there. Someone once said, God is the worst at playing hide and seek. He wants to be found. Remember what Jesus said? In his Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 7, verse 7, ask and it shall be given you. Seek and you shall find. God wants you to find him. He wants to be a very real and noticeable part of your life. So even if you can't see him, even if you don't think he's paying attention or watching over you, please remember, God is always there. He loves you so very much, and he will always take care of you. You think I forgot to show you what's behind those clouds, don't you? For the past 4 years, that's all we ever saw. But then the clouds went away, and there it was. God removed the clouds so we could see the beauty of his amazing creation. God is just as real as that great big mountain. And again, don't ever forget, he is always there.